So in the last video, we got this far, getting our dot, getting our shield, putting an image, and putting the text on. In this video, we're going to make it a bit more advanced. We're going to make it look a little bit fancier than it looks now. So for now, I'm just going to delete this layer, and I'm going to delete the snowboard guy because I don't want them at the moment. We'll come back and get them later. So to delete a layer, over here, we click and hold the layer, drag it down to the trash can. So drag it to the trash can, layer's gone. Drag it to the trash can, layer's gone. Now, what I want to do, if I give you the example, is I want to create 4 different colors on here. I want to create this little glowing thing around the edge of this, and I want to create that glow around the edge of the black shield, and I want to create this sloping shadow that goes this way behind the shield. So to do that, we're going to need to create a whole lot more layers. So stick with it because this might be a bit confusing, and I'm going to name the layers carefully so that you get the idea. So this is shield small blue. Now I need to duplicate this because I want to have a darker bit and a lighter bit. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I've got 2 blue shields here. At the moment you can't see the 2 blue shields because they look exactly the same, but trust me, there's 2 blue shields here. And what I want to do is I want to have the dark bit, the bottom bit, darker than the top bit. So I'm going to, first of all, I need to fill in one of these shields so it's darker, not white obviously. So what color blue have I got here? I could click around here to try and find the exact blue to see what it is, or I can use the eyedropper tool, which is up here, which is probably not hidden, probably the top one. So if I use the eyedropper tool, if you look there at that little box on the side, this little box here, when I click with my eyedropper on my shield, it will change color, and now it is the matching color. So I want to choose a darker color, so now up here I can just go down a little bit, get a darker color, get my paint bucket out, which we had before, which was G for paint bucket. Don't know why it's G for paint bucket. And we are going to paint bucket that. So now I have a slightly darker one and a slightly lighter one. So you'll see that there's a line going across here. So what I got to do is delete the top half of that darker shield. So I need to select a part of it and then delete part of that selection. So the select tool is up the top here. It's M on your keyboard, so hit M, drag a box, decide how low or high. I'm aiming for about the middle, and then I'm going to delete that part of this layer here. You have to be careful which layer you're working on. So you can see that I've got a lighter one and a darker one. Right, light, dark. Now we need to do this. Okay, so this layer here, this shield small, I'll call it bottom. So this layer here is just the bottom of the shield. This layer here is all of the shield. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate again the shield small blue. So I'm going to drag this one down to here. Right, so the layer I'm working on now is this one, and I'm going to call this shield small blue shadow. So on this layer, I'm going to black this whole layer. So I get my paint bucket, make sure I'm on the right layer, get my paint bucket, and dump it on here. Now it doesn't look right because we've still got this layer here, shield small bottom. So we're going to drag shield small blue shadow up above this one. And then a new thing that we haven't done before is opacity. So over on the right hand side here we've got opacity. So that's how clear an image is. So if you drag the opacity down, it makes the image more see-through. So if I increase it, less see-through. If I lower the number, more see-through. So what I got to do now that I've got a see-through part of this layer, is delete half of it again. So we get our box, we click here, and then we're going to delete half of it. You can play around with how opaque this is, so you can make it a dark shadow or a light shadow. And now we have our 4 colours across the shield. Nice and easy, right? Just complicated with the amount of layers you've got here. Then we've got to get this glow around the outside of the black shield, and we've got to get this here. So these steps are nice and easy. So black shield first. We're going to see the little button where my mouse is called FX. We're going to click FX and we're going to click Auto Glow. Gives us a whole lot of options. Yours probably won't look like this. It will probably look more like this because I've already done it. So we increase the size and increase the spread. So the size is how big it is and the spread is how blurry it is. So just get it to a point where you're comfortable with it. Play around with these a little bit. This is the color here, so obviously you could have a red background. I don't want a red background, I want a white background. And then you have your glow there. Okay, so that's the glow on the black bit. And then the other bit is a little bit more complex, because if you look down here, you will see that this effect is on this layer. It's got these things. I can turn those off. Now I want to put an effect on these 3 layers together. So like on a computer, you have a little folder where you can make a folder of layers. So we're going to click the folder button. We're going to move this up to the top. So we have a group of layers here. I'm going to get these 3 layers and I'm going to put them into the group. So I click and drag them until that blue box is highlighted around the group there. So now I can turn off that whole thing in one go. I've still got my 3 layers, but I also have 1 layer. So I can apply this FX button to the group. Bevel and emboss. Again, play with this. Okay, so the bigger you make it, the more it changes the effects. So I'm comfortable about there. So that gives that kind of 3D bubbling of the shield, right? If you've got that far, we may as well put the shadow out here, because that's a nice easy thing to do. So we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to make a box that shadows out here. So a nice easy way to do that is to create a square box rather than, and we're going to rotate that in a minute. But if you remember, we always need to work on new layers. So we're going to create a new layer, call this the shadow. Get our selection tool, drag a box, okay, any size at the moment, as long as it's reasonably about that size, I guess. Get the paint bucket, and we want to fill that with black. We can deselect, because we now have this black box. We've got our move tool, we can move it around. So we're going to get it behind this. So first step is to put it in the right order over on our layers palette over there. So shadow goes above the blue background but behind the black shield. Right, so it's in behind now. Now I've got to get it in the right spot. So I'm going to edit free transform, Command T. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to move it. And then you can see that if I line it up with that edge there, so I'm going to tuck it so it's just inside, and then I'm going to stretch this out here. Right, and then my shadow is just missing the bottom here, so I need to drag it down a little bit. I can nudge it around with the keys, so I'm just pressing the arrow keys so I get it in the spot that I want it. Press enter, and I now have my shadow. I've got to delete this bit up here, so I'm going to give you a new selection tool. So underneath, I think probably it's the lasso tool. So L, underneath that you have what's called a polygonal lasso tool. Fancy name, pretty simple tool. You just click and it makes a selection. Double click to end your selection, or close your selection box. You see the mouse turns into a little circle there. Right, so what I've got to do is I've got to go from here to here and grab all that black and delete the black. Make sure I'm on the right layer, make sure I'm on the shadow layer, delete. Right, so I've got the startings of this. Deselect. Now I want to cut around the bottom of the shield here, so I can use this layer to select. So with the magic wand that we used the other day, W for magic wand, we can click on something. Stop it. Okay. Okay. We have a slight problem because at the moment, when I click on this layer, that's why I zoomed out, you can see the dots all around the outside. So it's not actually selecting the blue dot. And that's because if you look over there on the layers, there's this tiny little box. So you need to right click on the layer and rasterize the layer. I can explain this to you why, but you just need to rasterize the layer, get rid of that little box. Get your magic wand, click here, and then you've got this nice shape. Click the shadow layer, click delete. Not hit delete. Why are you not deleting? Hello? Problem. Panic. I'm not sure why that's not working. Something has gone strange with my setup. This is a problem. Sorry. Why can I not delete this layer? Okay, I'm try and make a copy of this layer. Bear with me a second while I okay. I don't know why. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Problem solved. So in here, magic wand, select, shadow layer, delete. Problem solved. Remember the opacity button that we used before? Get this, drag it down a little bit, get it so it looks nice. Right, and you're pretty much done. Oh, then you can add your images like this. So go to your browser, get your image, copy image, paste. Where's my image? Drag it to the right place. Invert it like I did last time. Remove background. Pop it up here. Scale it up. Enter. You can put 4 images up. And there's your little shield practice. If you want, you can start to get tricky. You can do things. You can put FX on these layers to, however you please. Let's give it like a black. Oh, I don't know every word to that. You know what I mean. So good job. You made it this far. Ask me if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.